Well, I tell you what, I reckon the biggest news of the AFL season, perhaps in my recent memory, has happened about 20 minutes ago. So we can get straight into it. Shelter FootyCast, Will Schofield, Mark Reddings. How are you, Skeeter? You're propping your news-breaking mode.
Yeah, no, it is a news-breaking, mate. 8 o'clock our time that broke, the story. Yes. And if you haven't caught up with it, effective immediately, Alastair Clarkson, North Melbourne coach, is stepping away from the club to focus on his physical and emotional well-being. That's off the back primarily of the investigation into the racial allegations at Hawthorn, etc. Sonia Hood's put out a statement. The chairman, Dr. Sonia Hood, president of North, saying, in essence, everyone involved has been deeply affected by the Hawthorn investigation and the burden on Alastair has been significant. We will give Alastair whatever time he needs to restore his health and look forward to welcoming him back when he is fully fit. Brett Ratton will take over, but it's a huge story, the investigation on racism, but it's also really big that Alastair has reached this point.
When was the last time a head coach did something like this?
Well,
we've seen players do it.
I can't recall. There may have been a death in the family, or
for a week maybe.
A week, and this may only be for a short period of time. Very rare, very rare that this happens.
This is as rare as it gets. Thursday, it's not it's not a Sunday night after a game and they get down and a board decision and they sit down. This is in the middle of the week. They'd have main training either last night or this morning, and what did they just pull the pin? Oh look,
you sound a bit.
I want to know what's going on effectively. Mental and physical health. Yep, I'm an advocate for that, and I speak about it regularly and all of that. But it seems strange. I've never seen anything like this before.
Yeah, but I haven't heard anything like this in investigation before. It's gone for so long. There's been no resolution. His reputation, rightly or wrongly, has been smashed. I don't think you can compare it to, say, a coach who's in the bottom of the table. I mean, it's not win-loss. This is obviously something that's deeply...
personal reputation.
Absolutely. Well, not just personal reputation. I think he must feel totally aggrieved by the allegations.
James Hird coached the year.
He did. But does that make someone...
No, it doesn't. It's just like an interesting space that we're now becoming so accepting of people stepping away to look after their mental health, which I think is a really good thing. And maybe my attitude isn't helping things, but I guess that's my first reaction is like, what's going on here? It's something we haven't seen before. Yes, we probably haven't seen an investigation like we have right now either. But for a head coach, who are not invincible by any means, and no one is, to pack up and leave in the middle of a week, I just think the timing is strange for me. It's like, has he just woken up and gone, well, I can't do this anymore?
No, it's been an accumulation. I mean, I would have thought it's been an accumulation of the stress, and whether he's gone and received some help on that front. Where there's some medication, because he may be going through depression, and someone may have said to him, Alastair, your best bet to move forward and get yourself healthy is to go away from the club, go away from footy for a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is, with the backing of the club, and get yourself into a better space. So, I'm a bit more reluctant. I'm not
whacking anybody. I'm just shocked. Honestly, that's how I feel. This feels uncharted territory.
Yeah, but I think you're talking about Simo, for instance, the stress he's under. I think that's a totally different stress to what CLARKO'S. I'm trying to compare it. If I was accused, for instance, of a sexual assault,
accused of something that you didn't do, or you felt like that you didn't do.
That's what I'm saying. So something that you regard as personal. It's not like something running a red light and you're disputing it. This is something that affects your character, your integrity, and the racism. So that's the thing that, if it was something of that personal nature, it would take a huge toll on myself. And sometimes we all battle through and we shouldn't. But so I don't have as many questions on Clarko. And look, Chris Fagan, you can say, well, how come he's still chugging along? Jason Bird, I think it is.
It probably identifies that people handle things differently, doesn't it?
Absolutely. But it's a huge story. And look, I would hope that from his behalf, and he came out publicly last week and said how disappointed he was with the investigating officer outlining publicly the process. And
there's been a build-up, hasn't there? We didn't hear anything for the first part of the year about any of it. It was mouth shut, zipped off, no one speaking. And then 3 weeks ago, he gave a little shot across the bows, and then 2 weeks ago, there was a bit of something else. And then Sam Mitchell and Hawthorn, he didn't have a crack at Hawthorn. And then it's been a build-up. So, yeah, without being inside the sanctum, we don't really know what's going on. I just, take it back a little bit. But, like usual, Skate, you're the voice of reason in here, mate, and you're probably right. So, Will Schofield, Mark Redding's Shelter FootyCast. A little bit of back to regular programming, Skeeter. Shelter FootyCast on Instagram. You can send us an email, footycast@shelterbrewing.com.au. Skeeter's getting stopped in the streets, telling people how much they love this podcast. Is that right, Skeeter?
No, it is. I was at the shoe on Saturday afternoon. I was a couple deep by that stage. And
Couple
of young blokes, again. It's great. They are embracing some of the stuff, I think more the personal stuff than any of the footy stuff we talk about.
Yeah, correct, mate. Get a deep dive into Mark Redding's personal life.
My foibles and my inadequacies in life, which it's great just to, it's almost like, I'm a Catholic. It's normally, if you go to a confessional with the priest and you say, look, I did go once to a priest, seriously, in Mount Lawley, and I said, look, and he was an American from Chicago. So I'm sitting there in front of the kids' school. This is going back 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And I said, listen, Father, and this is because you're doing a confessional in front of everyone.
In front of everyone?
Well, it's not, they can't hear you, but you have 3 or 4 different priests as per se, and you're having a chat one-on-one. It's not behind a...
It's like a fucking interrogation.
Well, you're obviously not of any religious denomination. No. That's fine. I guess that with you.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Anyway.
I'm a sinner, am I?
I've had a chat, said, look, I've sworn this one, I did that. And I said, look, Father...
What did you say you'd done?
Well, I've behaved,
You tell God, you can tell everyone else.
I've done a few things I'm not proud of. But anyway, at the end of the day, I said, look, we're finishing up. I said, listen, Father, I know you're pretty partial to like to have a punt. I said, do you reckon you could do me a favour and have a chat to the big bloke upstairs? And he said, in American accent, hey, Mark, no problems. I understand where you're coming from. Sometimes you have some bad luck in your punting expedition. And so anyway, that next week, I'm at a friend's place, and there was a horse called God Has Spoken.
No.
Seriously. I backed it. It won. I got a result thanks to that. Mind you, he owes me a couple because I've been stitched up horrendously for the next 20 years generally. But, so what we're talking about, confessionals.
I don't know, mate. That's all we got time for the show.
Our personal anecdotes. Yeah, anyway, so this feels like a public confessional.
Right, okay. I bloody love that. That is outstanding.
You're an atheist, aren't you?
Well, I'm not an atheist.
What are you?
I just worry about my own shit, mate. I'm not selfish. I just don't have time.
I'm not saying you're selfish, but do you have any... If someone said to you, Will, you're dying tomorrow, which church...
An atheist believes there's no God. I don't believe there's no God. I just don't have many thoughts on it. I really don't.
Travis?
Religion is about fucking there for me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And also, you can be Catholic. You can do whatever you like. Like, I hate the bullshit. Like, look at this. This is not going to footy.
It's Travis Kelce territory.
Yeah, I hate people telling people what they need to do. Do whatever you want. You believe Catholicism? Go for it, mate.
Yeah, as long as you're not harming anyone.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, do it. Yeah, correct. I'm fine as well. Just don't worry about me. I'll be fine.
Just trying to get an insight into your... Because I've explained and explored myself.
So is this a confessional? Is it? Do we need a booth in front of us? That would be good. The Shelter confessional.
Shelter booth.
Right, okay. We've got a couple of things to get through today. The bottom art roughie of the week. Skeeter, can you give us a fucking roughie this week? Not just picking a 50-50 chance. Just a roughie would be great. Thanks to Bottlemark. Start your footy weekend at Bottlemark. Grab your shelters where Bottlemark has you covered.
Want that off the top?
Hey, what's that?
Do you want that now, do you?
No, I don't. I want you to have a think about it.
I've got one already. And then you can share strips off me when we get beaten by 130 points.
Excitingly, you're going to pick West Coast. Good. Excitingly, we are partnering with Froth Town for the foreseeable future. 18th of August, 19th of August. You can get your tickets at froth.town, Skeeter. So... there's going to be a few things happening with this over the next few weeks.
Sorry, what's Froth Town? Just explain to me.
But it's going to culminate in Mark Redding's finding out exactly what Froth Town is. We're going to get you down to Froth Town.
Is it an event or a drink?
It's an event. They got beers from all over Australia.
Okay.
Local Shelter will be there, of course, probably in the biggest tent there. And you can go and check out the beers, mate. So we're going to get it down there. I believe at the moment there's 55 brewers involved. My aim is over the 2 days to have a sample of every one of those 55 beers. We're going to film it. So, Froth Town, we're going to be partnering up with them over the next few weeks. So, it's exciting stuff. Let's get into it. We've spoken about Aleister Clarkson. Be interesting to see how North Melbourne go on the back of that this week. Didn't know Brett Ratten was at the football club, so they'd be pretty happy. Well, I mean, I didn't know he was assistant coach.
Yeah, he's been
the head coach at St Kilda and Carlton.
Yes.
Is that right?
Look, I think in all honesty, he's highly regarded as an assistant
Absolutely.
coach. Probably as the head coach, hasn't had the results. Mind you, look at Michael Voss at the moment, and there's question marks there as well. But yeah, I think he's a perfect deputy to someone like Clarko.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just say West Coast, Simo stepped away. They don't have an ex-AFL head coach in their ranks.
No.
So, and there would be clubs that aren't in the same situation. So I think that's a decent one. It's Sir Doug Nichols round this week. We've seen all the Indigenous jumpers come out. I've got to say this year has been the best by far with the jumpers. It's been awesome. The way they've been released, they look great. I've still got every Indigenous jumper I ever played in upstairs. It's pretty much the only jumpers I give a shit about. My Premiership one and my Indigenous ones. I always used to love playing.
Why the Indigenous round for you?
Mate, I've walked away with probably Lewis Jetta's one of, if not my best mate out of footy. So I was,
what it means to them?
What it means to them, but yeah, what it means to them, and it's sort of like a milestone game. You just want to play well for people that game means a lot to. And so...
Yeah, well, just taking us back to Optus Stadium, was it 2 years ago? Dreamtime game at the ground. And obviously I haven't been to a Dreamtime match at the G. That was really special.
As good as it gets.
Yeah.
And so every year we'd have the lads speak about, their mob and where they're from and what family and culture means to them. It just means so much more to Indigenous people than it does you and I. Like, it really does. Like, family is their life, and it's a small representation of what that is for them. But I always used to feel like I needed to play well in Indigenous round.
To honour them.
Yeah, so... I'm getting a little goosebumps talking about this. But
well, Fremantle did it really well. Start of the week,
Yeah.
smoking ceremony. Alex Pearce, of course, fronted that.
He's Indigenous.
Yes,
Yep,
yes.
he's Indigenous. He's one of only 5. He's the first Indigenous.
And Fremantle, as they were known, they are Wyalup.
Yes. Well,
Well,
you're going to have to...
Wyalup. To my knowledge,
trouble
I think I've read this, they've only had one game in their history where they haven't had an Indigenous representative. And you go back to the Gerard Neesham in the early days, they had so many Indigenous players amongst them, and Gerard was so good with the Indigenous talent.
There was a game that Des Headland played in, and a bunch of those guys that had the most ever Indigenous players. It was definitely at the time. I don't know if they still hold the record, but Indigenous players have held a pretty special part of Fremantle and West Coast, right?
Yeah, and even going back to South Fremantle, dare I say it, totally politically incorrect at the time, but Malcolm Gregory Brown, South Fremantle coach, of course, so famous for his relationship with Aboriginals, Indigenous players like Morris Rioli, like Stephen Michael, like Benny Vergona. He didn't speak to them as you would in 2023, but he had a fantastic... They respected him, and vice versa. And even on the umpiring front, Glenn James, an umpire that was an Indigenous umpire during the 70s and 80s, I think, highly respected, partly because of his ability to have conversations, have a relationship with the players where you could have a go at him, not racially based, of course, but say, listen, mate, that was a shit decision. He would come back, hey, Scully, get a kick, you useless. That's where I think you can get the relationships going, and Glenn James was one of the best, I believe.
Well, Liam Ryan, Junior Rioli, all these guys, they're premiership teammates of mine, but guys along the way as well. Frankie Watson was really close to him. Just... they speak football as well. They just love footy. Like, it's a genuine joy to watch them train. They just do stuff that you could not do as a white fella. You genuinely couldn't even dream of doing it. And so, yeah, I'm really excited for this round. It's going to be great to see what all teams are doing. What about down in Tasmania, Skeeter? Are they getting a ground? Are they getting a team?
They're getting a bit rowdy, though.
What's happened? There's people crossing the floor of Parliament.
Did I see Jackie Lambie just jump? There's all
Jackie
sorts of stuff.
You want religion? You want to talk about politics?
Yeah,
politics are just as bad as religion, seriously.
No, politics is worse than religion.
Yeah, probably
But
is.
if you mix both, it's not great. But what we're finding out is that if there's such an uproar about a stadium being built and the money associated with it going towards a stadium, then Tassie aren't going to get a team. That'll be knocked on its head. I think the AFL's been quite strong on that. If there's no stadium, there's no team.
So who's in power at the moment, Liberals or Labor down there?
Good question.
One of them, right?
It'd be the Labor Party because I think they run every state in Australia as we speak.
Oh, yeah. So I think it's the Labor Party. They've said, all right, build the stadium, we're in it, blah, blah, blah. The Liberals, so two Labor members have crossed the floor of Parliament to side with the Liberals. So now the Labor, who are in government, hold a minority government.
Yes, which is perilous.
Yeah, correct. And so the Greens and the Liberals or whoever's combining forces over there are saying no stadium.
But bottom line, though, Scully, go back to our situation. There was the same type of opposition, maybe not the same level, but there was opposition to building a stadium.
And there was delay, right?
Worth 1.8 billion, I think it was, at Burswood. Now, we look back 5-6 years later, and that's all gone. Sometimes you have to absorb, and you know what the argument is? And it really annoys me is, what about building more hospitals? What about building more schools? It's a separate basket of money, I would have thought. This is something that is going to be a legacy, just something that will carry through generations. And we need to make sure that hospitals and education is covered. But surely there's also the sporting side of it that needs to be looked at.
I can bet you bottom dollar that the people that were going against Optus Stadium would be in the 300,000 people lining up for Coldplay tickets on the weekend as well.
No question
they
about
would
it.
have been. Guaranteed.
No question.
Were you?
We got some tickets, but that was just...
How?
Well, it wasn't me.
How did you get tickets?
Just luck in running, as they say.
How did you get them? Who do you know in there?
No, my daughter's got some tickets.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's all good.
Are you going?
I'm going, but I'm not huge on Coldplay.
Mate, there was 300,000 people in line. How the fuck does Mark Reddings get tickets? I want to know.
Well, I've got people on there. Chris and I, go back a while.
Who's Chris?
Chris Martin. No, I don't know. Chris Martin.
Mark Reddings backstage at Coldplay.
Chris Martin, who consciously uncoupled with Gwyneth Paltrow. How about they just split up and went, see you later, you're a dropkick.
You're on today, Skeeter. Will Schofield, Mark Reddings, Shelter FootyCast. All right, let's talk about some footy, eh? I tell you what, it feels like we've been bouncing around everything but
absolute rubbish.
Fremantle, Geelong, Saturday, Optus Stadium.
While you're up.
Well, you're going to have to say that because I actually
While you're up.
While you're up. Thank you.
Well, you probably... Yeah.
While you're up v Geelong.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a cracker. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. Geelong still, I think, fair to say their numbers are down. Interesting, when I did some looking at Swamp, who put out a tweet and the number of games missing on the AFL injury list. Geelong's, I think, second behind West Coast at the moment. They've got some experience out of that side.
Yep.
Question mark, Brad Close comes back into the mix here. Tyson Stengel, I think, probably from that broken arm. Or forearm is a possible. But yeah, if there's a good time to get Geelong, albeit they lost last week and very rarely they not respond, it just feels like they're a touch vulnerable on Saturday.
Oh, I've got some stats to throw at you, Skeeter. Fremantle amassed 100 points 2 weeks in a row for the first time since 2015 last week. Can they make it 3 in a row? They'll probably need to beat Geelong, if we're really honest. Geelong's got a pretty potent forward line. They score 27.7% of the times they go inside 50. So 1 in every 4 inside 50s, they kick a goal. So not score, it's score, not kick a goal, they score.
Yep.
So when they get it in there, Geelong, but I mean the problem with playing Geelong is they're not a low inside 50 team like a West Coast. West Coast are quite efficient inside 52, but Geelong have high inside 50s.
We're talking, and if you get 60 inside 50s a game, numbers say, or history says, you win a game. Maybe not a grand final, because they got over 60 in the 2008 grand final against Hawthorn.
We're winding back the clock a little bit.
Oh, okay. I'm just trying to give some context
to
you. You're sticking to modern era. I'm just trying to give you a bit of, going back. But 60 insides generally gets the job done, doesn't it?
Correct. And they do that regularly. Look, I think they've got to play 5 Fremantle. I don't think you can play him a third game as a sub, even though he's been doing nicely. You've got to play him, don't you?
No, well, look, I'm happy for him to stay sub, but to further your point, if he's been offered to make the call himself if he thinks he's right for a full game. So, yeah, if he's
Who said that? JL?
JL apparently said, he gets a say in what role he plays.
All right.
That's the media report that's come out. Yeah, I'm still happy with him as the sub, but yeah, you're probably right. Has he got enough?
Wish I got to make the call if I could play or not. We played 300, Skeeter.
2 Brownlow medals probably.
Yeah, it does, but he hasn't played much footy and
I
been
agree.
very injured.
Well,
I
that's
reckon
what I'm
fall
saying.
into line, Fifey. I wouldn't want Fifey walking into the coach's office saying, "All right, JL, I'm ready to go, mate." Like, you're either ready or you're not, aren't you?
Yeah, no,
that's probably my point. I would say that's a media-driven thing. Because
possibly, yeah.
You can't have Matt Fife rolling around the Freo Footy Club saying when he can and can't play.
But also might be what Justin's telling the media.
Why?
I don't know.
Why would you say that?
Either way, I've got no issue with him. If he started sub, the team's winning.
Can Fremantle beat Geelong?
They can, but I'm not tipping them.
Right.
Maybe I'm still stuck on the Geelong. I saw them against the Dockers 3 years ago at night, and they just bullied them, the bigger bodies. But they are. I think they're gettable on Saturday.
I think they're missing enough. I'm going to pick Fremantle. Okay. I don't think that's a roughie though.
No, it's not a roughie.
It's at home. They're going well. I'm back on them. I'm happy to say.
Clearly, you are.
Oh, I've won 2 in a row. We're back, mate.
Okay.
Absolutely back. They're one away from home. They get home, sleep in their own bed, rolling down to Optus Stadium. No, I just think Geelong's missing a little bit too much, and they're just a little bit a step back. It's not a good thing they lost last week for Fremantle. I will say that. If Geelong had have won and come over here, and I will just roll Fremantle as well. Geelong looks like a side that when they're challenged, they rise to the occasion. And they'll know this is a big game too. So the more I actually speak about it, maybe I should have picked Geelong. But I'm going to stay with Fremantle. Hawthorn play West Coast, Tasmania. The Harley Reid Cup, this is being dubbed, which I think is ridiculous, I will say off the top. No club in the history of the game gives a shit if they have the number 1 draft pick, unless they want to trade it, which probably everyone will this year, I reckon. This isn't going to dictate who gets Harley Reid either, in my opinion.
No, but I've done a little bit of homework on this. I mean, Harley Reid, obviously midfield. He's from a place called Tongala in country Victoria.
Is it country Victorian?
Yeah, so you aware of Tongala?
No,
I'm serious. I don't know where it is,
okay.
But he's from country Victoria. If he's the number 1 draft pick, can you go back through the last few years? Andy McGrath, 2016.
Yes.
Cam Rayner, 17. Yes. Sam Walsh, 18. Matt Rowell, 19. Jamari Ugle-Hagan, 20. JHF last year, and Aaron Cadman 2022. All will be, I expect, to be really good players over their careers.
Yes.
But I think that the tactic used by the Eagles last year, which I quite liked, was they had pick 2. They split those picks in the end for 9 and 14 to get Jinby and Hewitt.
Yes.
I can see that being a possibility if the Eagles are 17th or 18th this year.
I did some research too, Skeeter. Since 2000... there's been 3 number 1 draft picks and this is by my reckoning, that were the best in that draft. And one of them was you'd probably make the argument for both. So Rewalt was one.
Yes, clearly.
Sean Burgoyne was in that draft.
Oh, was he really? Okay.
So,
but Revolt still.
I know.
Still, you don't have to,
but it depends how you gauge play.
No, exactly. No, it's like beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Sean Burgoyne, record holder of games and premierships and 2. I don't know, but Rewalt clearly gone. Luke Hodge was another, but
that was a great in that draft.
Gary Ablett was in that draft.
Was it Judd and Ball as well? Sure.
Yeah, Judd, Ball, Gary Ablett.
There's no losers.
No losers. And the other one was you had to go to Sam Walsh. Sam Walsh was probably the best player in the 2018 draft. Other than that, honestly, the best player is not number 1. So. Move back West Coast if they get it. Move right back, split it up straight away. It's a no-brainer, given the hype this kid has.
Yeah, but also, are you concerned about does flight risk come into your mind on that front in terms of a kid from country Victoria?
I think maybe
What do you go local? Is local? Do we?
No. If he wants to go home after 2 years, you get something amazing back. It's not a waste. You probably sell some merch along the way. You get a couple of draft picks back. He might be a better player in 2 years. You take the best player. Doesn't matter where they're from.
Okay.
Yep.
No.
I say that as a Victorian that's come to Western Australia. I don't see the flight risk as a thing. But through my career, Chris Judd, but that was more of a money deal rather than homesickness. Brad Ebert went home to South Australia.
And to be fair, Juddy spent,
correct.
It wasn't like he went left.
Brad Ebert was the same though. And he was a very good player. Went back to Port Adelaide. He was always sort of very aligned with that. But not too many guys do it, to be honest, to get pulled back home. I think who didn't? Shannon Hearn, Luke Shuey, Sam Butler, Beau Waters, Gaffey. Gaffey could have gone home easily.
Many times. I mean, his dad was crook. He's going to finish his career at West Coast.
West Coast Tassie. Who's going to win this one?
Nah. It's because it's in Tasmania. I just can't, having seen the Eagles at close quarters last week, I cannot believe they'll beat Hawthorn.
Darling out. What do they do in front of the footy? They get
Does Williams now go out of the ruck and play forward?
Bailey Williams, do you bring in a Rhett Bazzo back in and you play, because they're literally running out of tall players. There's a Harry Edwards go forward. They're going to have to play someone taller forward probably, unless they use Jake Waterman as that
hybrid.
And Oscar Allen deep. But look, Darling out creates some issues. Apparently Chesser, Long and Hewitt are all coming off the injury list. We don't know if they'll come back into the team or not. I'd say out of those guys, Chesser would be the one. Maybe Long, definitely not Hewitt. And maybe they get Rhett Bazzo. So they are starting to get some numbers back there, but they're all young guys. McGovern, Shuey, Ryan, Cripps, all these guys, they're a long way off. Nananui, they're a long way off. So I'm picking Hawthorn. The Eagles have won just 7 quarters this season.
They certainly
the competition.
And they certainly haven't won too many second quarters, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah, that's correct. Yeah. What about this, though? I'll give you one thing to think about, Skater. The Hawks are averaging just 63 points on the road this season, ranked last in the competition.
Yeah, the problem is this isn't really on the road for them. This
Isn't it?
Well, I think Launceston, they feel pretty comfortable down. It is Launceston, please tell me.
I don't know, mate.
It is in Tassie. So,
Taz.
Yeah, that's Lonnie. So put it this way, they'll feel more comfortable there than what West Coast will. And if it's cold, and it invariably is, I just think they're playing slightly better than the Eagles. I watched them after quarter time against Melbourne. I thought they were pretty competitive. So I think on that basis they will be winning, and Mitch Lewis and co will be able to do some damage.
I pick Hawthorn as well. I'm putting the line at 8.5 long sleeve jumpers out there. Do you want to take over or under?
For one club or both?
Both.
I'm going to go. I haven't looked at the forecast. What's the forecast, though?
Oh, it's Tasmania. Cold.
I'm going to go unders if you're going over.
I'm going overs. I think it's going to be long sleeve galore out there because West Coast players.
West Coast only Sambo Petrescu Seaton's only one, is he?
Mate, they've got him, mate. You watch.
They're back, are they?
They've got him, mate. They've got him. Had some inquiries at Bluebet, actually. And just, mate, if there any markets available, there wasn't. Will Schofield, Mark Redding, Shot of FootyCast. All right, let's whip through the other games of the week. Port Adelaide v Melbourne Friday night.
Big game.
Yeah, there's some big games this week.
Tough round for tipping.
Yeah, really good. Yeah, which is good because I need to make up some numbers in the tipping. So, I don't know how anyone else is going out there, but I'm having an absolute howler.
Yeah, Charlie Dixon's a big watch at Port Adelaide. He had a bit of a quad issue, and so I think Todd Marshall is also going to be ruled out with concussion.
That's right.
So on that basis, they're going to look a little bit skinny. They've been terrific this year, Port. I mean, they were talking, Warren Treadray must be feeling a bit flat about life after round 2 when he said it's untenable. It's so untenable they're going to finish top 4. No.
If they lost that Sydney game, I reckon he would have been close to the axe. Seriously.
Really?
You could see the relief when they won that game, mate.
It's a big win as well.
Yeah,
mind
correct.
you, sitting out travelling flash. But I'm just concerned if Dixon doesn't come up.
Those names out, mate. Who have they got forward of the ball?
Yeah.
Peppo, the key forward.
Yeah, and so I know Petty's missing for Melbourne for 3 to 4 weeks. But I still think that whatever they bring in, whether it's McDonald, I think their midfield should be able to compensate and get the job done. So I'm tipping Melbourne at the Adelaide Oval tomorrow night.
The Demons have won 2 of their last 3 games against the Power at Adelaide Oval, Skeet.
They've also won at Traeger Park against them, so I think that might be in the mix in the last year or 2 as well.
Okay, well, there you go. It was just 2 of their last 3 at Adelaide Oval.
Thank you very much. But also, I was just saying they've also beaten them at Traeger Park in the last year or 2.
I'll pick Melbourne.
Me too.
North Melbourne v Sydney. North Melbourne v Sydney. Look, if you're a player in this game, right, for North Melbourne, and your coach is regardless of that, let's just forget about why and how and all that stuff. Your head coach is no longer your head coach. It can honestly go either way. Sometimes it can
most times when a coach gets sacked, and this isn't that case.
Yeah.
The response, and you could talk to this better than I. How the hell does that happen?
Well, the players feel like it. It's on
their
them.
fault.
Yeah, it's on them. So they need to show something. But I've got a feeling this goes the complete other way. I think if you're a North Melbourne player, you're going, what the fuck is going on? What is actually going on? That's what I would be thinking. I think Sydney's going to win and win well. Sydney lost some last week, some players, but so did North Melbourne. LDU won't be playing in this game for them. He did his hamstring. Perez was concussion. Tucker hamstring. Zurhar face. They're all expected to miss. Zurhar and LDU are some of the most important players. Core is out with suspension. So they've got 7 changes, North Melbourne, this week, as a minimum. Sydney on the other side, Mills is out with a calf, McDonald is out with a knee, so they're 2 very important players. Laddams is unclear, McCartan unclear on the concussion comeback. So it's these 2, well, North Melbourne's struggling clearly, but Sydney is.
They're gone. Sydney's gone. They can't play finals in my mind.
Yeah.
They're just not playing well enough. They haven't got enough fit bodies. Buddy is just limping towards the end of the season. He was crook last week, so just for what it's worth, apparently in bed for a couple of days. But irrespective, I think, Buddy going goalless 2 weeks in a row in new territory for him. So
the Dragons going to kick 50 still.
I've got half the prediction right. I don't want the other half to come right that he retires mid-season. In fact, I think Lee Montagna summed it up pretty well. We all hope that he, I don't think we get a fair. I had a look. I don't think we get a farewell game in Perth. I think the Swans play here for the rest of the season. I might be wrong, But that's a pity because
West Coast plays Sydney in about 3 weeks in Sydney.
yeah. So no,
Can they beat North Melbourne?
Yes, just. When I say just, they win. I think you're right.
Marvel Stadium. I don't know.
They were almost my bottle mart roughie of the week, but I'm saving that one.
Who was?
North Melbourne.
To beat Sydney at home. Again, with no players in their team. Is that right?
North Melbourne to beat Sydney has to be
Actually, quite underdogs.
They're massive underdogs. So just given what you said about Davies Uniacke, no, I can't tip them.
No, correct. Sydney win. Western Bulldogs v Adelaide.
Good game.
There's about 4 of them. Saturday, Mars Stadium. Ballarat. You're kidding me. They're playing Ballarat. For those of you over here in Western Australia don't know where Ballarat is.
It's the coldest place in Victoria.
It actually is. Coldest place in Victoria. Sovereign Hill, they've got like an old... Do you know what Sovereign Hill is?
No, but I'm just looking at the forecast. 11 degrees maximum and the forecast, cloudy, showers, cloudy, showers.
The Sovereign Hill is like an old historic old gold mining town. So every school in Victoria, literally you'd go on an excursion to Sovereign Hill. And you go, gold panning. They put like little specks of dust into the thing, and you dress up in old clothes, and you ride an ink, a little bit like when you went to school, Skeeter.
Thank you, Will.
Western Bulldogs v Adelaide. 2 teams, probably. Bulldogs played finals last year, didn't they? But Adelaide didn't. Adelaide jumping right up the ladder. Whose home ground advantage is it in Ballarat? Is it Western Bulldogs? I don't know.
I think they both played there in recent times. Look, the Bulldogs, I've got to be honest with you, I think I said on Monday, their form, I've just looked through their year, and they're just getting better and better. And I'm really
starting to steam up.
Really bullish on what they could do.
Well, at the start of the year, their list looked like they were exciting, but they weren't gelling as a forward line. That forward line is one of the best in the competition on paper. Lobb, Hugo Hagan, Norton, just as a starters for those key. And then they've got defenders too. But their midfield was always a question. Dunkley moving out of the midfield, can they hold up? Treloar hasn't been playing. Treloar's been injured.
Yep, hamstring.
But they're playing bloody good footy. Hunter goes to Melbourne. They've had some changes, obviously. It's an interesting game, this one. The Bulldogs have won 5 of their last 6 games at Mars Stadium in Ballarat, so they play there quite a lot.
But they got beaten by a point last year, round 6. I remember seeing against Adelaide.
Against Adelaide. So the 5 of the 6, the only one they've lost was against Adelaide.
By a point. And I think Taylor Walker, there's a question mark on his fitness this week. So of all those issues, look, Adelaide have
2 days out with concussion.
Yeah,
you like their back line a lot.
I do, but I prefer the Bulldogs midfield and the Bont to get the job done in Ballarat. So I think the Bulldogs will win this one.
I think they will too. Just if it's nothing else to do other than just cold. So we're both picking the Bulldogs. Brisbane Gold Coast in the Q Clash. It's at the Gabba. I'd prefer this at whatever stadium, something Bank Stadium.
Heritage Bank Stadium.
I'd love to see it there rather than the Gabba because I think the Gabba just puts it over the line for Brisbane. They were slow last week against the Bombers to start, but they got going. Gold Coast get a pretty cushy win against the West Coast Eagles last week. How do you see the Q Clash going, Skeeter?
Yeah, no,
You're a token Queenslander?
No, I am a token Queenslander, but I'm also, this is going to be my bottle mart roughie of the week.
Oi!
Yeah, and I know you're going to say, well, guess what? Brisbane's $1.25.
It is.
The other mob's $4.
I'll give you it.
Yeah. And I thought they were a little bit off Brisbane, and whether they'll probably get themselves up. You're right, the Gabba they should be winning.
Yes.
But it's not like, I don't think Gold Coast is a $4 outsider, just on what I saw last week. Matty Rowland, really good touch. King kicked 4 goals, should have been 5. They have got, and Charlie Ballard did a great job down back with
he was outstanding
aerially. So, no, I think Witts, who you're a huge fan of, like him, Brisbane with the class factor. But if they're just not quite on, I think this could be my bottle mart roughie of the week.
I think they got the midfield to take it up to Brisbane. I like the tip, Skeeter. The Suns midfield last week, although albeit against a downing quality side. I love seeing what Noah Anderson does. He's turning into a great player. Matty Rowell, of course, we've seen what he's been able to do. Can he be more consistent? That'll be the question. Brisbane has won each of the last 8 Q Clashes, Skeeter. So the last defeat was in 2018, so you got a little bit of work to do, but I like it.
Yep.
I like it. Injury news, not really too much on either side. So Q Clash, it's always a little bit of a build-up. It's nothing. I think if you rank them in terms of rivalries, in terms of this state ones, Derby's first. I would have the Battle of the Bridge second. In terms of they've just had more competition because Sydney and GWS have been competitive. Gold Coast have never been competitive, so no one gives a shit about the Q Clash.
Yeah, and I think the New South Wales clubs there's a bit of angst there as well.
Who didn't someone run through Zorko, or did Zorko run through someone in a Q Clash?
Going back?
Yeah, going back. A new Gold Coast player. Anyway, so you're picking Gold Coast Suns.
Gold Coast Suns for Bottle Mart Roughie of the Week.
Bottle Mart Roughie of the Week. There you go, Skeeter. He's finally spat one out for first time in 9 weeks. He's gone something over $3. Start your footy weekend at Bottle Mart. Grab your shelters at Bottle Mart, where Bottle Mart has you covered. Skeeter, yes, that's right. Essendon v Richmond, 5:40 at the MCG. Dream time at the G.
Yeah, I think, and I bumped into Anthony van der Wielen during the week, who has a bit to do with Shea Bolton. I think it's his 100th game, which coincides, of course, with Sir Doug Nichols' round. Very important night for him, and he's Richmond again. I don't think they're playing finals, but I think their best, as you pointed out rightly about this time last week, their best is still good enough.
Are they back?
No, they're back. I thought they were really good against Geelong for longer. The problem is they haven't been able to sustain their footy for 4 quarters. I mean, Dusty kicks 4 last week. We know what he brings to the table.
Yes.
I still think they're a fair way off. I know they've had a lot of injuries as well.
Hopper's out this week.
Yep.
With a calf. Nankervis is a maybe, so they've been missing him. He's the skipper. Essendon will have Ridley back and Kelly, so they get some defensive shore up.
They haven't actually beaten the Tigers, I don't think, for 11.
Essendon has lost its last 13 matches
against
Richmond.
Yeah, so
the last win in 2014. It's the longest equal losing streak by any team in the AFL against any opponent.
Yeah, that's huge, isn't it? I mean, even going back to the derbies, I think it was 9 in a row when Fremantle finally beat the Eagles.
You gotta win sometime, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
You gotta break the duck somehow.
But I think Richmond, I just think they're probably a little bit more advanced than Essendon, and I do think history does tend to creep into the back of these fixtures, and I think the Tigers probably to win on Saturday night.
I think probably Essendon should win, but I'm going to pick Richmond too, and they're favourites, so can't even talk about roughies. Carlton v Collingwood, 1:20, Sunday MCG. Spoken about some big games this week. Freo Geelong will be a big game. Adelaide Western Bulldogs will be a big game. Even Western Bulldogs Adelaide. Carlton Collingwood. Biggest game of the week.
It is biggest game of the week, but it's everything. The focus is on Carlton, because they are the team that needs to show against a quality side like Collingwood that they can find a way to improve, to clean up their efficiency. They get plenty of the footy. They're 2 big forwards. At times look like Tarzan and unfortunately don't play like that, particularly Harry Mackay, who I was listening to Matthew Lloyd this week on radio just about what he went through in the early stages of his career. And Mackay's obviously far more advanced than that because he's a Coleman medalist, but he sat down, this is Lloyd, he sat down and went through with his assistant coach or biomechanist, I think it was, at Essendon, and went through frame by frame his goal kicking procedure, routine compared to, say, Tony Lockett, frame by frame. And the big thing that Tony Lockett did was his ball drop was so low. The distance between the drop and the boot was obviously takes a lot of the variables out. And Lloydie said, I was never going to get it to that stage, but I made sure I made the distance as little as possible, and he got himself into a routine. I'm not sure Harry Mackay's doing that or not. I think it's been said, Simon Lloyd at Carlton saying that he's doing as much work as anyone he's seen at a footy club.
He's probably cooked himself.
Yeah.
He's probably doing too much.
Yeah.
Because that can happen.
Yep.
You want to get... other examples would be, you need to get fitter, and you just go and work your ass off. I think you got stress fractures because you're going too hard. The goal kicking thing's mental. Yes, there's technique about it, but we know he can kick goals. We've seen him kick goals. We've seen him kick well, but we've seen him kick poorly. Clearly, it's mental. You can cook yourself here. So I hope internally he's working hard, which I'm sure he is. It's not like anyone thinks he's sitting around playing PlayStation, do we? Do we think that?
No, but it's confusing as to watching him 40 metres out. Even you said it, like going for a snap from 40 metres out.
That's mental. That's 100% mental.
But it's also unrealistic. The percentages are low, aren't they?
But that's him not having the mental strength to be able to go back and kick a drop punt straight. It doesn't.
Anyway, Collingwood have been terrific.
Carlton has lost 7 of its last 8 games against Collingwood. They haven't won since 2021.
What about the last round last year?
Correct. So is this a revenge game for Carlton? They've trailed at quarter time in 7 of their last 8 as well. So they start poorly against the Magpies and they're playing catch up. Look, the way I see this game going, I think it's going to buck the trend, right? I think the Blues are going to start well. They're going to lead at quarter time. They must, because their season, playing finals footy, all that stuff is on the line. It's not for Collingwood. Collingwood just want to beat a rival. I think Blues start well, and I think they hold Collingwood off in the last quarter. We've seen Collingwood run over so many teams. I think this means enough for the Blues this week, and thanks to Bottle Mart, this is my roughie of the week, Skater. I'm picking Carlton. $3. That's right, 3.06. I think $3 is the line for what you can call a roughie, Skater, and I'm bloody doing it. Don't pull your phone out. That is Scully's roughie of the week, thanks to Bottle Mart. Start your footy weekend at Bottle Mart. Go be shelters where Bottle Mart has you covered. Are you happy with that?
I've got you. I'll back you up on a few of those. I think Carlton will be really aggressive, really proactive, and I think they will be leading Collingwood early. But I don't think they will. I think the Collingwood belief is through the roof. I just think that's the one element. Hence, the market says that. Forget whether they're in front or behind at three-quarter time. I just think they're playing such good footy. I know Dacos had 40 plus, but I reckon DeGoey's playing super footy. We know Darcy Cameron's getting closer to coming back, but Mason Cox got the 10 coaches' votes, so he's going beautifully.
Have some swagger around the club.
And you know what they did, as a footy club, not just how they're playing. The way they gave the Mother's Day tribute, the way Julie McCreary gave the speech to the boys in the rooms, that was just elite. And, footy clubs aren't just about, being able to, you talk about all the stats we roll out, but it's about having that bond, that camaraderie, that fun. And they have got the mix. Fly McRae has got the mix absolutely spot on at the moment.
Just on Mrs. McCreary coming in, I don't think Bo knew that. By the look on his face, I saw the blood drain. I saw the.
She was great.
And she nailed it. But just think about as a son sitting there in front of your mates. Your mum doesn't come into that area. That's your domain, right? Mum walking in, you'd be thinking, "Oh God, what's going to happen?"
Don't stuff this up, Mum. Don't say I love my Bo.
Yeah, don't say I love me. Don't say, "Kate, give me a kiss."
But having said that, Todd Goldstein's mum spoke when he was given a tribute before his 300th game. And there was a bit of emotion.
Don't worry. I'm certainly not questioning what mums know exactly what's going on. Mums probably, there should be like head coaching mums, 100%, right? We should have women head coaches because they're a lot smarter than men. Let's be bloody honest.
And you know what they are? They've always been better people managers.
Yeah, correct.
Blokes, so many areas we're good, but gee, women, as organisers, as people that know how to create a bond and families, we know that they've got us covered. But anyway, I'm tipping Collingwood to keep going despite your Bottle Mart roughy selection of the Blue Baggers.
A couple of Travis Kelce's going out at describing the gender breakdown.
Well, we know things about mums anyway. We're both pretty close to mums.
That is a good point. GWS v St Kilda. Love you, Mum. GWS v St Kilda at Sunday Giants Stadium. This is the last game of the weekend unless West Coast. No, I don't think they play later.
They play 11 o'clock and this mob's at 2:40.
Okay, thank you, Skeeter. Can St Kilda reclaim the form that started their season against the GWS Giants?
Are they April premiers? Are they early ripe type scenario?
What did Ross Lyons say? A mulligan. He's taking a mulligan. Did you see that?
Oh, no, I didn't see the quote. But
press conference, he said, I was going to take a mulligan about his team's performance.
Against Adelaide?
Yeah, he said, we'll take a mulligan, thanks. Seriously, how good was that?
They were shite. They were terrible. Having you and I sat and watched the Giants last week, their effort was good. They tried to play quick. Their skill execution was terrible.
Paulie was poor,
yeah. So they do. They've been
Green could come back as well. Toby Green.
Yeah, Toby Green's a huge in. They're always competitive at their home deck. I just think Ross might be able to, with King coming back into the side, that's yet to be confirmed, but I think he's just about there.
Yes.
I'd expect to bounce back from St Kilda because that was their worst performance by the year by a margin.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty even game odds-wise given how they played last week. But if Max King does return, actually, geez, I'm hung up on this. I don't know which way to go.
It's a tough one.
Go. I didn't go, if Toby Green plays, if I see the teams tonight and Toby Green's playing, I pick GWS. If he's not playing, I pick St Kilda.
Okay.
I think they're a 4-goal better side with Toby Green.
No, I don't disagree. Who
are you picking?
I'm tipping the Saints because I just think they're slightly more advanced and a better side than the Giants, who at home though, you're right, they'll be a far different proposition.
Shelter FootyCast, Will Schofield, Mark Reddings. Couple of listener questions to get into before we go to bed. Skeeter, FootyCast at shelterbrewing.com.au. Bed? What are you talking about, bed? Adam Hart writes in, yes. I'd like to draw a comparison. I feel a big part of the 2018 premiership was family and how Simo made that a big priority of the team, a reason the club probably missed out on a second flag in 2020. That's Adam's opinion. Anyway, the comparison I'd like to put put it to would be what Fly is doing at the Pies. Thoughts? I'll answer this one. I mean, I hadn't seen this question, but it's really what you just brought up. Like in footy clubs, I speak about this a lot. It's less about talent. It's more about connection and the feel and the footy gods. And it might sound silly and airy-fairy, but it actually does. Like, I've played in lots of good teams that haven't won premierships, and the difference is that feeling. So they certainly present themselves as players that love playing footy and love playing together and doing the team things. Like, that's how you get all the one percenters, you know. You're always going to have players doing one percenters and spoiling it, but like having full buy-in is about the culture in your team. So that's a good one, Adam. I like it.
I agree. Collingwood doing it well. And look, it's a far cry from when they had to do the Do Better report and they were copying a lot of criticism. I think they've got themselves Jeff Brown in charge, Craig Kelly, CEO, Fly McRae. They've got all the pieces in place to be where they are on the top of the ladder by a game.
We're just going to jump into PTI. I haven't had this for a little while, Skeeter.
Okay, yeah.
So, bit of part of the interruption. Should the grand final remain at 2:30? The AFL confirmed that it would stay there this year.
Yeah, happy with that, and no question with that. And just before you give your answer, today the AFL released the fixtures for round 16 to 23.
Did they?
They will. That's coming out today.
Might be able to actually plan more than 1 month ahead in my life.
Floating round 24 fixture will stay in place. What we will see is Collingwood get more Friday night games because of their lofty status. So I think 4 Friday night games, Thursday night footy. I think there's going to be 12 in total this season.
Your beauty.
So they're just going to add that into the back end of the draw. Of course, the Players Association have been...
Sure, that becomes 18 next year.
You'd hope so. Yeah, that's what we'd all like, Thursday night footy. But with the new fixtures, Fremantle, not so sure how they'll sit. Probably they'll be on Broadway, off Broadway, should I say, with how they're going.
They'll just slightly, maybe down a little alleyway off Broadway.
And the West Coast, the graveyard shift. They'll get the midnight to dawns.
They'll get 11 a.m. Tassie, Ballarat will be getting another game.
Perth games, I reckon, more often than not, 2:40 Sunday afternoon, which is no one likes it because you finish late. It's a
that's
pain
all
in
they
the
deserve.
backside. Anyway, but you're right. You get what you deserve. So yeah, 2:30. I got no real issue with it. Although I did love the twilight grand final here. I thought it was terrific. 4:30, 4:45.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I don't actually feel that strongly about it either way.
Nah. I think I'm a traditionalist as well. I'd love to argue against you, but I'm a traditionalist. I like the daytime grand final. Now that I'm out of the game, I think as a player,
Players would day. Player definitely day, would it?
Yeah, I think like as a fan, it'd be a pretty bloody good day if it was
a long day.
Yeah, crack open a beer at 11, long lunch into game.
Swahili by quarter time.
Head out to the shoe bar afterwards.
Well, it won't be the shoe bar anymore. If we go to Melbourne, if we can get ourselves on the road, that will be us in Melbourne.
Shelter FootyCast, we're going to the grand final this year. Happy to announce. Thank you very much. Know you're listening, Tom and Paul. Cheers. All right, Aleister Clarkson. Last one on him.
Yep.
Positive note. I want to finish the show on a positive note around Aleister. Head coaches. How many head coaches have coached under him that have gone on to be... Sorry, yeah. How many coaches have coached under Aleister Clarkson and go on to be a head coach?
Well, Simo is one.
What number do you think
it is?
How
many number? There's a few. I'm guessing, I'd say conservatively 6, as many as 10.
13.
13, there you go.
So I thought we could have a little quick see how many we could get. So Adam Simpson, Stuart Dew,
Hardwick,
Damien Hardwick. Now, Jaden, you got the microphone over there. You keeping track of these?
Yep, keeping track.
Okay, thank you. So Kingsley.
I was about to say Kingsley. Yep.
Is that correct? Well, it's not correct.
No Kingsley on this list.
Okay.
Leon Cameron.
Fagan.
Leon Cameron. Chris Fagan. Leon Cameron's 100%.
Yep.
Coach at Richmond.
Let's have a quick squeeze through. How long was it? I'm trying to think.
Fly was McRae? No.
Yep.
Lepich?
I would have... No. Okay.
Lepich was definitely... Oh, no, he's an assistant now after he was head coach. Was Voss there? No, Voss wasn't there.
This is a good game, except if we knew the answers, it'd be better.
Yeah, but no, that's the point.
Yeah.
Fremantle. People will be listening going, you idiot.
Yeah, I know.
What's this?
Head coaches.
Brett Ratton.
Did we say Brett?
Brett Ratton,
Sam Mitchell.
Sam Mitchell, yep.
That's that. How many is that? Enough.
It's 5.
It's more than 5. You were at 5 before. You're like 8. I think you were 10. You doubled your hand up. Go on.
Who have you got? You've missed Damien Hardwick.
No, we said Hardwick.
We said Hardwick. So you get
Todd Viney.
Didn't say Viney.
Todd Viney.
Hang on, but Todd Viney hasn't been a head coach.
He was a caretaker coach.
Oh, gee, now we get a caretaker territory.
Anyone coach the Waffle or maybe down at
Yeah,
Trinity
keep going.
Aquinas?
Who else we miss?
We're going off the list, okay? We're going
Keep
off the
going.
list. We've got Luke Beveridge,
Yes,
Good
we
get.
missed
Yeah,
him.
we are bad.
John Barker.
Johnny Barker.
yeah.
He's always the
He
one
was-
that quizzes.
He was interim though, wasn't
Correct.
he?
He was.
You guys said Brendan Bolton.
No, we
Didn't
did
say
not.
Bolton.
We didn't say many.
Well, you got a few.
Who else we got?
Craig McRae, Adam Hughes, and Scott
Adam
Burns.
Uze.
Adam Uze.
Uze was only assistant as caretaker. He was never
Correct.
full time.
I mean, seriously.
We're
No.
pretty close.
Yeah.
A lot of them are just caretaker.
Yeah, well
coaches.
done. We did pretty well. Beverages are probably, that's a decent miss.
Yeah, that's a bad miss. But we have drunk a lot of shelter over the last few years.
Last couple of days for you as well. Big weekend of footy coming up, Skater. You working some games? I'm assuming?
Yeah, doing some footy Saturday at Optus. Should be a good game between
Freo Geelong.
Walyalup and
Yep.
the Cats, and then Sunday Hawthorn versus West Coast for radio. So
Unreal.
look forward to that. Hope you have a great weekend.
Be good, mate. I'm going to go do a confessional. See you later.